Coming up on today's REAL-Eyez Destiny radio show.
They were like, they would tell me, well, I couldn't get my manager on board. It was a toxic environment. The culture wasn't right. And so I decided about a year or two ago that it's more effective for me to go in and give the same tools that I had to company managers and company leaders so they could have those coaching conversations.
Closer to my dreams. She's the author of the highly sought-after GOALIE coaching system, who is passionate about helping seasoned entrepreneurs become unstuck in their thinking, abilities, and revenue. She's a coach, author, and speaker who has sharpened her ability to stretch the vision, mission, and goals of those strong enough to withstand the journey of entrepreneurship. As the founder and visionary of Collette, Portis & Co., Collette Portis is a business coach with 20-plus years of experience helping clients think big, strategize for success, and increase revenue. Colette's mission is to change the lives of whole families because winning is the only option. This is the REAL-Eyez Destiny radio show.
Welcome back to REAL-Eyez Destiny Radio with Collette Portis. And today we have a jewel. She is a millennial leadership expert who works with organizations that value attracting, engaging, and retaining millennial talent. She has 10 years of Kendra Elaine. Hi, Kendra.
Hi, Collette. Thank you so much for having me today.
You are very welcome. Thanks for coming to hang out with us on the show and being willing to drop some jewels on our listeners. So Kendra and I kind of met on LinkedIn, and I know that sounds like my story, like we met on the internet kind of thing. But social media is amazing in a way that it connects you live. And so Kendra is one of those people for me, and she's pretty phenomenal. So Kendra, my audience may not be as familiar with you as I am. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, like you said, I work with companies that want to engage and retain their millennials and attract more high-performing millennials. And I do that through leadership training and diversity and inclusion training. I am a published author and speak at a lot of conferences. And then when I go into companies, I do a lot of work directly with managers and with HR teams, helping them to understand the millennial mindset and create a more inclusive culture that promotes high-performing millennials and high productivity.
How did you even get to where you are? What caused you to say, you know what, they are really not connecting with us, and here I have some skills, some gifts and talents that could actually help them to do that?
Absolutely. So I have been public speaking the last several years, and I actually started out specifically speaking to single women about confidence building. And that kind of, when I found out that public speaking could be an actual viable business, that's something I do full time, I sought out some different coaches, and a number of my coaches and mentors, they would ask me, what's your story? What are some of your life experiences that you could pull on as far as to figure out topics to talk about? And the millennial topic kept coming up because I had a lot of jobs like most millennials, and they would always say, you should talk about millennials. And I kept hearing this, and I was there, and I started researching it, and I was like, oh my gosh, so it is a big deal. People are kind of freaking out about this and talking about it a lot, but everything I read, nothing clearly related to my experience in the corporate world, and it didn't depict any of my friends' experience in the corporate world. And I said, if this is what companies are listening to, that's why they can't keep anyone, because none of this is actually accurate. So I was on LinkedIn and on my website about my own experience being just trying to navigate and having that lack of motivation and not knowing what I want to do and not being fulfilled in what I was doing. And millennials started reaching out to me saying, I'm going through the same thing right now. Do you have any tips? And I would tell them, let's hop on a phone call. And I started coaching them, and I would always circle back with them like a month or a couple months later, because we would have a whole action plan. And I'm like, awesome. What? They're like, yeah, great. But I thought you were going to stay with, we had a whole plan for the company you were with. And, they were like, they would tell me, well, I couldn't get my manager on board. It was a toxic environment. The culture wasn't right. And so I decided about a year or two ago that it's more effective for me to go in and give the same tools that I had to company managers and company leaders so they could have those coaching conversations, so they could change the culture with the companies all day long. But if the culture is not a good fit, and if the manager is looking at them sideways just because they're a millennial, I'm basically coaching them to leave. So I started kind of focusing more on getting in with the companies to help them develop a millennial-friendly culture.
You are listening to Real-Eyez Destiny Radio with Collette Portis, and Miss Kendra Elaine as our guest. So it sounds like as business owners and founders, and we don't have everything right all the time. It is absolutely important for the business owner, for the visionary of the company or the organization to continue learning, because we didn't know, what you all were going to be like as millennials 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But you're here now. And so we have to make those adjustments. And so I think it's amazing that you've just taken your own experience for corporate America. So that is pretty awesome. Tell us about when you decided that I'm just going to do this on my own as opposed to go and work for someone else.
Well, I decided to do it on my own primarily because my sole focus, so my passion is the public speaking portion. And there's not a lot, there really aren't a lot of companies where they source, or, I would be able to have that as my primary. But for a while I was working in corporate and kind of going down this path, I had been looking for, well, maybe there's a position in, a diversity and inclusion department or an HR department where I could, do some of this. And it was just kind of an internal decision on my own to say, I really want this to be something big. I want to be able to be a full-time public speaker and traveling and, speaking on the big stages. And it should just kind of dial in and focus on that. I never saw myself as an entrepreneur, but as I got clearer on my vision, it just made more sense for me to build something like this on my own and connect with the companies that resonated with my mission and resonate with what I'm talking about, as opposed to, trying to maybe get in with a company and kind of force this path on them.
I like that you said that you do on to others. So I like that you said that. But when you first started out, what did you think your journey was going to be like?
In life, honestly, anybody will tell you this. I just knew I was destined to be like the world's greatest assistant. Like that, I just knew that was my calling. Like, I loved being the behind the scenes person. I'm very like a planner. And as I grew and got older and started to find my passion, I thought as an entrepreneur, when I decided to take that journey, I thought it would be easier. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was going to be, hey, I figured out what I like to do. Everything's just going to fall into place. I'm just going to be rocking and rolling. And we all know the entrepreneur journey is a little bit different than that.
Because it takes a lot of work. Corporate America, you have to know everything. Well, in entrepreneurship, you come to understand how little you really do know, and that you need people. You can't be a man on an island on this journey. You have to find people who can help move you forward. So that is good. So who have you discovered that you are through the entrepreneurial journey?
I definitely discovered that I'm a leader, which is something I never really considered myself as, who, knows how to take action, who looks for the resources that I need, can get it done, and who can be fully committed and fully just all in and, take the lead on projects and initiatives and my own business, and also influence and lead others in that same fashion.
Awesome. Awesome. You are listening to Real-Eyez Destiny Radio with Collette Portis. And today we are speaking of self-proclaimed herself a recovering jobaholic, which I absolutely love. And our guest today is the millennial leadership expert, Miss Kendra Elaine. And we'll be right back after this.
Closer to my dreams.
Tap the Mic Radio Network. We're on.
Hey, this is DJ Colossus. Join me Friday night, 7 to 11 Eastern Standard Time for the Mix Show Federation, getting you ready for the weekend. Join me as we ride the waves of top music across the board, pumping out positive vibes to start your weekend ride. Only on tapthemicradio.com. We're on.
Coming up.
Tell me about what your greatest accomplishment has been on this journey.
And
if you could leave the new or aspiring entrepreneur with one word or a quote, what would it be?
But you never choose to walk away.
who's your goalie? It's an acronym for grafting objectives around longevity and entrepreneurship. Here's founder Collette Portis.
GOALIE makes sure that your business is so well-rounded that you can now continue to grow. The key aspect of GOALIE is that it devises a strategy and it helps you to determine what needs to be done every single day in your business so that you meet or exceed your goals. And as a result, the clients that we've used the GOALIE plan on has doubled their revenue, has tripled their revenue, has built successful, viable, growing teams that are helping them to grow their business. And it's been able to give the business owner or the founder of the organization some of their time back so that they can put that time into the vision of the business.
Order GOALIE by Collette Portis at Amazon.com or ColettePortis.com and let Collette Portis and Company, founder of the GOALIE movement, put you in scoring position with your future.
And now, insurance-minded speeches from Geico.
It's a common expression, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. However, what if the horse's mouth is filled with useful insurance tools? This is the exact case with the Geico app. Yes, the app is free and therefore a gift horse. However, look inside the app and behold, emergency roadside assistance, digital ID cards, bill pay. Get the Geico app. Look it in the mouth. Get amazing services. Thank you.
Welcome back to Real-Eyez Destiny Radio with Collette Portis, and our guest today is the millennial leadership expert, Miss Kendra Elaine. Kendra, you said something about forcing it onto others. One of the things that I talk about is finding the group of people who are looking for what you have, and the difference between that and actually forcing what you have onto others that you know it could benefit them, but they're really not interested in taking on what you're not necessarily forcing it onto. And why you made the decision to say, let me go over here to find the group. Let me go find my group that wants what I have.
Absolutely. So I'm just a big believer in life about not forcing things. It really changes the game when you recognize that everybody's not going to see value in your product or service, and forcing it down them, it's I don't want to say a waste of energy, but it takes a lot of energy to do that when you have a set of people or clients that are specifically for you. And if you're called to do this, there is going to be a segment of people that when they hear your message, like, you out your solution, and it's way more fulfilling and beneficial to focus on those people and how to get those ideal clients as opposed to trying to force your service on someone who doesn't see the benefit.
Would you agree that your success has been attributed to your ability to narrow that market as opposed to keeping it wide open and saying anybody who has money to give me, they're going to be my client? Absolutely.
It has been hugely beneficial to narrow that market down and really determine, okay, who do I want to work with? Like you said, what's the size of the company? What's the age group? What are they already spending? Like, okay, this is my ideal client, and narrowing in and really pursuing them. And I think also the great thing about narrowing in, you have a focus. People know you have a focus, and you will naturally begin to attract other opportunities outside of that. But when you're laser focused on your target client, it becomes way more profitable and it's just way more beneficial.
Absolutely. Wise words, I tell you. So it's important to make sure that you have people in your life who can give you wise counsel, because just like, I'm sure you've experienced, and you're probably where people going, you are crazy. You left that good job to go and do what? And you can't do that. And how are you going to survive? And your dreams are unrealistic. And tell me about that conversation.
Man, they were everywhere. So my mom, love her. Like I said, she has been my support system. But when I first was like, no, I'm going to have my own business. She's like, you're going to what? Values. And she is very, education oriented, get a job, retirement, all that. And I was like, no, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to be a speaker. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, don't forget your bills, keep that job and we'll see what happens. And over time, as she saw me grow, she kind of got on board with it. But that was definitely an initial conversation. And then even my entrepreneur friends, who I do have a couple, but they have more of the brick and mortar style businesses. They're like, what do you mean you're gonna speak and do training? Like, what does that even mean? they
you don't have anything physical to give,
right? Like, you're not like selling anything. And I was like, no, it's a service. No, it makes perfect sense. People are doing this, and they're like, are they? I was like, yes, there are people doing this. And then even from coaches and mentors, I had one coach that I actually spent a lot of money to work with this coach, and you should focus on being a coach. Let's do this. And at the time I was not clear on my vision. And so I went down that path, and it was a point where I was like, man, again, I'm feeling all this resistance, and I had to really get quiet in my own self and say, why is this not working? And a little voice dropped in my spirit and was like, well, you're not supposed to be a coach. You're supposed to be a speaker. And I was like, right. I had been listening to all these outside voices in a business. Maybe I'm not qualified. Maybe I should have focused on being a coach or, whatever. And it's like I had to dismantle everything, get back to my vision and what I wanted to do and what I knew I was supposed to do, and drown out all those other voices, because at the end of the day, you are the only one that has your vision, and it's not going to make sense to other people. And you have to differentiate, like you said, between the naysayers who just don't know any better. There's definitely a difference.
This is Real-Eyez Destiny Radio with Collette Portis, and we are speaking to one of St. Louis's top 100 urban influencers, Miss Kendra Elaine, and she is talking to us about being quiet and focusing on your vision. So Kendra, you mentioned that you hired a coach who made you deviate, and you are not the only person that's done that. So this question has two parts. One, what would you advise one to do when they're hiring a coach? Like, looking back on it now, what should you have been looking for when hiring a coach? And then two, when you talked about being clear on your vision, what does that even mean? Because a lot of times we start a business, or we've been in business for 30, 40 years and have never even thought about the vision. What are you talking about when you say that?
If a coach approaches you, or if you're referred to somebody, there's a lot of people who kind of label themselves as a business coach. It is important to know what kind of business they coach on. And if that is not in line with the kind of business you want, then that's not the coach for you. Because in hindsight, if I'm trying to build a speaker business, then I needed a speaker's coach. I needed a speaking business coach, not a coach for coaches, because of the process that they took. I'm going to take you through how I got clients, how I built my business, how I created a successful business. So they can only take you down the path that they went. And if that's not the path you want to go down, you have to decide if that is the right coach for you. because they will lead you wherever you pay them to lead you, whether it's for you or not. So you want to make sure that it is someone with the success that you want, doing what you want. So that second question about getting clear on your vision. So what that looks like is having that long view of what does success look like for you in your company. That's personally where I like to start with it, to say, okay, this is the kind of business I want. This is the kind of company I want to have. What would that look like for me to define it as a success? Is it a certain number of clients? Especially as an entrepreneur, that's an exercise that I go through where I envision, okay, a year from now, 5 years from now, when I wake up, what does my day look like? Am I booking events? Am I going to somebody's stage and doing sound check and then doing an interview and then giving a talk and then hopping on a plane? Am I sitting down on a phone, taking coaching clients all day? Am I going to an office? Once I feel like I am having a clear vision of where it is you're trying to go and the life that you're trying to create, along with the business that you're trying to create, because that ties into that first question of, if you're not clear on what you're creating, you could get tied up with any of these business coaches or any type of mentor or someone trying to give you advice. But if you don't have a clear target of where you're trying to go, you can easily get off track, because there's going to be opinions and services. This is the kind of entrepreneur I want to be. This is the kind of business I want. This is the kind of clients I want to have. This is the kind of staff I want to hire. Like, this is how I want it to look, whether I have a brick and mortar office or I'm working out of my home, or, how does that look? So then when you're looking for a coach, or when somebody approaches you to give you advice, you can better assess, like, okay, are you actually where I want to be? Because if it doesn't look similar, then you can probably pass clear vision. So now that you have that end goal in mind, you can be intentional every day about taking the right steps, saying the right words, and doing the right actions to get you to that goal.
And being intentional every day is absolutely important. Doing a lot of stuff that's not getting you to your original vision, not getting you to your goal, because you're great at what you do and you're good at a lot of stuff, and you oftentimes can find yourself doing a lot of the stuff you're good at and not a lot of the stuff that you're great at. So I think that is sound advice and wise counsel. So it sounds like you've got a really good grip on where you're going, where you're headed to. Tell us about your daily ritual. Have you gotten to that place in your business where you go, okay, these are the things that I know that I'm doing every day, whether it's, or before I go to bed at night, I write my to-do list. What's your daily ritual look like?
I have a few different things that I do, and I'm not going to lie, every day it might be a little bit different. Now, I can tell you my staples. I definitely meditate every day in the morning. I try and have that quiet time of mindfulness and quieting my mind, and kind of just every morning that I have like pre-made. And so I go in and I drink my herbal tea every morning and try and get a little bit of exercise in, just something physical. And depending on what's happening that day, if I have, I might have an event or I might have a meeting, I definitely try and get in at least some form of posting on social media, which I usually batch my social media ahead of time. So get something posted, sending out some emails. And as far as like my nighttime routine, I also try and meditate again before bed. I make sure I have at least 30 minutes to an hour to read. One of my favorite things actually is the audiobooks app. That's like my favorite. Yes. Because it was a struggle for me getting back into the habit of reading. Like, I love learning and I love books, but it's like I had trained myself to be a multitasker and to sit down and just focus and read better with that. But I definitely use my audiobooks, and I try and commit to, 30 minutes to an hour of learning in some capacity, whether it's listening to an audiobook, reading, sitting in on a webinar or something like that, some type of personal development. And I'm big on, prayer and journaling. I journal what's going on right now, and then I do a lot of that, future vision journaling as far as speaking in the I am this, and just, writing my goals out as if they've already into existence. So definitely some writing and prayer time are some things I incorporate every day.
I like it. So tell us, Kendra, what do you know for absolute sure at this point?
I know for absolute sure that we are the controllers of our destiny, that if we just own it, that when our thoughts and our words and our actions line up, God and the universe will line everything else up for it. And 9 times out of 10, what we want, all the things that we want are here waiting for us with our name on it, but it's waiting for us. And we are in control of creating that destiny.
So Kendra, how can people connect with you? You
can connect with me I am on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and I think that's all of them. 4. I think those are the main ones that I'm on. And I'm Kendra Elaine everywhere. So if you look me up on LinkedIn or Facebook, it's Kendra Elaine. On Instagram, it's at Kendra Elaine Speaks. Reach out to me. I'm always available to answer questions or share some insights. So please connect with me.
Thank you so much, Kendra. So thank you for joining us on the show today. You have been listening to REAL-Eyez Destiny Radio. And until next time, be sure to make today amazing.